I present to you an alternative psychological and event reconstruction of the Idaho 4 murders. The University of Idaho homicides shocked the public not only for their brutality, but for the apparent contradictions in evidence, witness accounts, mainstream media, and law enforcement narratives. If we reconstruct the events through the lens of multiple perpetrators, the picture shifts dramatically. A 4-person team, each with a distinct psychological role, offers a more plausible explanation for the violence, the scattered DNA findings, and the survivors' perplexing behavior. The psychological profiles of the 4 perpetrators. Number 1, the aggressor. The aggressor was the most unstable and impulsive of the group. They carried deep-seated rage, possibly a grudge or obsession, and drove the violence forward. His attacks were frenzied, marked by excessive sharp impacting to the face and head, indicating extreme anger and loss of control. His injuries sustained during Ethan's resistance ultimately led to his own death after the crime, removing him from suspicion in the official investigation. Number 2, the organizer. Cold and methodical, the organizer planned the logistics, timing, entry routes, and psychological management of the group. They were not driven by passion, but by control. They ensured the attack continued even after the aggressor faltered, managing the staging of the crime scene and orchestrating the group's escape. Number 3, the enabler. Loyal and pragmatic, the enabler's role was to support the others. He may have driven the group to and from the scene, carried out cleanup tasks, or helped move bodies. His motivation was not intrinsic rage, but loyalty and group identity. Number 4, the reluctant participant. Drawn in by pressure, fear, or misplaced loyalty, the reluctant did the least physical harm, but was complicit. Likely acting as a lookout or in minor support roles, this individual has carried guilt ever since, struggling under the psychological burden. A Night of 4 Shadows, an alternative reconstruction of the Idaho 4 murders. It was supposed to be an ordinary night in Moscow, Idaho. The kind of night where students stumbled home from parties, laughter fading into the cold air, porch lights burning late into the dark. But for 4 University of Idaho students, November 13th, 2022, became a night of horror. The official story told to the public was simple. 1 intruder, 4 murders, a clean narrative. But when you pull back the layers, when you listen to the small cracks in the witnesses' words and the strangeness in the evidence, another story emerges, darker, messier, and far more human. The 4 perpetrators. They did not come as 1, they came as 4. The aggressor was the spark, the storm in human form. Rage fueled them, wild, unrestrained, already teetering on the edge of collapse. His knife was his voice, his violence his release. Someone who may have learned how to ambush, silence, and immobilize before guards could intervene in a prison setting. A mindset that could translate directly to controlling victims in an outside world crime. The organizer walked beside him, cold and deliberate. To him, chaos was something to be managed, not indulged. He chose the time, the entry, and the exit, pulling invisible strings while the aggressor frothed at the end of his leash. The enabler followed, loyal to a fault. They carried bags for the cleanup, wiped surfaces clean afterwards, grounded the group. They weren't there for the thrill. They were there because they belonged, because their group had gravity. The reluctant trailed behind them all. The one who never wanted to be there but lacked the courage to leave. They were the shadow of the shadow, complicit, not by desire, but by silence. The first strike. It didn't begin in any bedrooms. It began outside. Ethan and Xana walked home together, unaware that 4 figures waited in the dark. Ethan, taller, athletic, sensed something dark was afoot before Xana did. The 4 assailants appeared in front of them. Words were exchanged, low, sharp. Then the aggressor lunged. Ethan fought back, fierce and desperate. He struck, he clawed. He made the mistake of resisting a man who carried both rage and a blade. The knife slashed behind his legs, severing tendons with clinical precision. Cuts to the hamstrings or Achilles are common prison-style incapacitation moves. They stop someone from running or fighting back. Ethan dropped, crippled, but still fighting, still refusing to surrender. The aggressor stabbed again, too many times, his fury echoing in every wound. Xana's cries pierced the night, short-lived as the organizer pulled her down. From inside the house, Bethany stirred. She heard something sharp, a crack like a firework, saw a flash of light leak under her door. She didn't know then what it meant. Dragged inside. The attackers couldn't leave the bodies outside. Too visible, too risky. Bloodied hands grabbed at clothing, limbs, shoving Ethan and Xana into body bags and into the house through the sliding door. Banisters smeared red, door frames caught fingerprints. Blood traced their passage like a map. By now, the aggressor was injured. Ethan's resistance had cost him. His breathing was ragged, his fury still bubbling, but even less controlled now. The organizer knew time was short. The plan had to be finished. The upstairs slaughter. They climbed to the 3rd floor, the aggressor staggering but still determined. Kaylee and Maddie were half asleep in Maddie's bed. They never stood a chance. Kaylee took the worst of it, her face, her head, targeted again and again. The kind of overkill that screamed of something personal. Maddie, beside her, met the same fate, but with less cruelty, as if the storm was losing its power. The organizer steadied the chaos, pushing the group through the motions, ensuring the job was done. The enabler cleaned what they could. The reluctant froze, watching shadows dance across the walls, wishing they could disappear into them. Downstairs, Dylan thought she heard voices. A cry, a crash. She opened her door just enough to see a dark figure slipping by. Fear held her still. But fear alone doesn't explain 8 hours of silence. Perhaps she recognized something in the gate, in the sound of a voice. Perhaps she saw more than she ever admitted. The exit. By the time the 4 left, dawn was still hours away. They carried with them blood, DNA, and secrets. The aggressor would not live much longer. His wounds too deep, his body too broken. His death, though never spoken of in connection, erased a living witness to the truth. The others went on with their lives, each carrying their role like a scar. The organizer buried himself in routine, possibly seeming normal to the casual observer. The enabler stayed quiet, loyal as ever. The reluctant unraveled slowly, the weight of guilt eating away at them in silence. The simplified story. When police arrived, they pieced together a neater tale. One intruder, one knife, 4 victims, 2 survivors frozen in shock. The messy details, Ethan's unique injuries, the sounds Bethany heard, the contradictions in Dylan's account, were folded into the background. Simplicity made for stronger headlines, stronger prosecution. But simplicity was never the truth. The unfinished shadow. In the quiet college town, the story of one killer is easier to digest than the shadow of 4. Yet the cracks remain in the survivors' testimonies, in the unexplained DNA and the smears of blood, in the timeline that refuses to hold steady. The truth is not clean. The truth rarely is. That night was not the work of one man, but of many, bound together by rage, loyalty, fear, and silence. And though the public may never hear their names, their shadows still linger in every unanswered question of the Idaho 4.